Hello, how are you guys today? And thank you for tuning in to Radical Spirituality with Mandy and Crystal. Hi, Mandy, how are you today?
Hey, Crystal, I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I am actually, I'm going to tell you, I'm doing wonderful on all aspects other than this Michigan weather that is killing my, allergies. I can
Oh,
hardly see
no.
out of my eyeballs today, but that's okay because, I'm the light from the eyeballs, and I'm trying to spiritually erase and eradicate all of this pollen that has seeped into every orifice of my body right now. So, other than that, I'm doing absolutely wonderful.
Oh, good. Yeah, my allergies been kicking up too. I just moved over the weekend from South Florida up to New Jersey, and I've had some allergies. It's kind of funny. I never had allergies till probably the past 7 years when I moved from the East Coast to Colorado. Most people move out there and clear up their allergies, and I moved out there and got allergies. And then I had them in Florida, and then yesterday I noticed I was kind of doing some things, and I'm like, man, I have a terrible headache, and I can't really breathe out of my nose. And I'm like, oh, yeah, new climate, new allergies. So, and my dogs, their eyes are just watering like yellow from all of the pollen. So I get it, sister.
Yes, it's more annoying than anything else. I mean, truthfully, it's really just an annoyance because when you're also going through and all this retrograde action and all this other stuff, it's kind of like honing in on figuring out when spirit or when energy fields or planetary shifts or all this other stuff is affecting you versus something that's more of a physical realm. The struggle is real sometimes in figuring it out.
Definitely. And I'm always into looking into the causes of things and then definitely, the physical and the environmental causes, but also the spiritual and emotional causes. And Louise Hay always says when allergies come up or hay fever that you might be denying some of your own inner power and what are you allergic to kind of. And a nice affirmation to correct it is usually the world is safe and friendly. I am safe and I'm at peace with life. And then it helps you to clear it up and help you to acknowledge your own power.
I feel like I'm going to write that down so I can keep it for myself because that could very well be true. Funny enough, we were talking about before, I call you and before we could actually be on air, we were talking a little bit about like our own personal struggles and stuff like that. And I was actually talking to you about how I tend to be the first person that talks myself down. So it's kind of one of those things. I do have a lot of changes taking place, a lot of opportunities, a lot of really cool things happening for me. And so when you yourself are dealing with some of that ugly talker, I can't remember how you put it the last time, when you said that like put downs and put ups.
Yeah, negative self-talks and then the put downs and the put ups. Yep.
Yep. See, so you're teaching me, and I love it. But when you do that, you also have to give yourself, for one, you have to give yourself 3 or 4 and re-empower you, I guess. And so that's kind of one of those things. So I really tend to suck that energy in. Funny enough, I just made a post on my Facebook page that was something like that. And not to get too far off topic, I know that we like to have organic conversations. And for all of the people listening today, we are going to get to like relationships and stuff like that. I do want to kind of say we're not going to take calls today regarding when you're going to find a relationship. Instead, what we want to talk about today is relationship through spirit's eyes, some codependency things that we all tend to carry in our lives, and, learning how to kind of reflect on your own triggers and your own emotional status in relationships. So that's what we're going to be talking about. But I had actually just responded to somebody who posted a negative comment, and I never do that. Like I never give information regarding a negative comment. I delete it, I ban the person. It's not worth my energy. But this one was such a cool way to teach and a cool way to get people to understand. Like, because the comment was, how can you work with somebody who has done this in their past and ask them about what happened last year in their life? And that was like, okay, first off, that's a trigger. So I see it, I acknowledge it. But at the same time, I just made this post about, like, I don't think people fully understand when you truly are working with spirit of a higher realm, you see through the perspective of spirit. And if you truly see through the perspective of God, the universe, whatever you want to call that universal energy, when you do that, you can't hate people. You can't. I absolutely love, and it is so people. I just still people give me the ugliest looks or anything like that. I would love to go to jails and talk to murderers and child molesters and people who have done stuff in their past that have hurt people. Some people can be rehabilitated. Some people do get it. Some people can't. It's not my job to decide or judge. My job is to teach the people who truly have beautiful souls that regardless of what they've done in the past, I don't see that. I don't care. And so when people ask me how I have the audacity as a medium to work with somebody who's done something ugly, I'm like, well, all of us are the demon in somebody's story, truthfully. We've all done something to somebody. And so first off, to lack the acknowledgement and place blame on other people, well, part of my struggle and part of what I've learned throughout the process of spirit is not to do that. And so don't come on my page with that stuff, because that's my job, is to work with people who don't see themselves for who they truly are. And that's my purpose. Like, that's my purpose. And I'm grateful for that purpose. And I love every single person that I come into contact with. So, yeah, fun enough talking about triggers and such. I see that. I can look in the mirror and say, yeah, I was completely triggered for no reason at all. But I still thought it was a great teaching tool. So now that we're moving on.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm glad you brought that up. And I kind of hope that person's listening, because I just noticed the same comment on the Alchemy Sisters. And, it's really hard. And if we held everyone accountable to every little thing that happened in their past, whether we know it to be true or not, the thing that this person might be referencing, I don't know if that's true or not. But either way, as a spiritual person, spiritual woman, spiritual teacher, my job is to see the divine light and the soul within each person. And we've all made mistakes. And just like you said, we're all the bad person in someone's story, and no one is completely innocent and no one is completely guilty. And there's so much that goes into it. But if we can learn from those mistakes and create change and transmute that energy from fear into self-love and power, then it's so much better, And so I appreciate that.
Yes. So listeners out there, if you're dealing with anything like that and you're having a hard time letting go of things from your story, like Spirit, when in a reading, Spirit gives it as our book of life. Each year is another chapter in our book of life until we close that book for good. And so when they give that to us, it means that we go back in our past and we look at past chapters that can't be erased. We can't change actions. We can't change what we do. We can't change how we reacted in a certain moment. But you know what? We also don't have to relive that moment every day of our lives. You are not what happened in that moment. You are something greater than that. And so please just remember that if you struggle with anything that's happened in your past, just know that. You have the ability to change and transform, and you're doing it in the most beautiful way that you can. And so on your bad days, just lay in bed before you go to sleep and say, you know what? I see it. Today was a bad day. And you know what? Tomorrow I'll be better. Don't look at it as a bad thing. Look at it as a way to learn, accept, acknowledge that you didn't do the best you could, and go forward in the next day knowing that it's a new day given to you to retry. That's all it is. So That's so important. And so to all of you people that are broken like me, I love you. we are not broken anymore. So, end the story. We're going to get into this relationship stuff. So first up, what actually started this was Mandy shared this amazing video on Facebook, and it was about relationship triggers. Mandy, do you want to talk a little bit about the video?
Sure, yeah. There's a woman who I like to follow. For all of our listeners out there, I always say this on the Alchemy Sisters too, but follow Spirit and follow little wormholes and find new teachers and new things you're learning about. I just took a road trip, and I'm transitioning out of a romantic relationship and spending some time on my own now, and I got to thinking about triggers. And so I looked up one of my favorite spiritual teachers lately is a woman named Bridget Nielsen, and I love following her YouTube videos, and she hosts retreats and does all kinds of cool things. And so she and her partner Patrick posted a video about triggers in relationships. And I love the concepts of triggers because not only through my own healing journey was I triggered all the time, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I had all kinds of different things happen in past relationships. I had physical injuries. I broke my back a couple of times and both my ankles, like all kinds of different stuff. And so I've had an opportunity to really understand what triggers are. And for me, every time I'm triggered, I try to recognize it as an opportunity to heal. For example, earlier we were talking about allergies and hay fever coming in. And Louise Hay, who's kind of like the grandmother of many of our spiritual outlets these days, she always says, what are you denying in your own power? Or if you have sinus issues, it's usually an irritation of someone really close to you. Maybe that's your partner, maybe that's a parent, maybe that's a best friend or a coworker or someone who's really getting on your nerves lately, things like that. So whenever an issue comes up, I try to look and see what's going on in my space and in my body at that time and what might be causing an imbalance of some sort. And this can happen all over the place. One of my biggest kind of aha moments was I was getting gout attacks. And I'm 33 now, and they started when I was younger, but they were misdiagnosed. And probably about 5 years ago or so, I got like officially diagnosed with gout. And they're like, well, you're too young and you're a woman and this shouldn't be happening to you. And I'm like, yeah, but it runs on like both sides of my family and I'm overweight right now. And like, I don't know, like it's really painful. Like, could that be it? And so it finally had gotten diagnosed as gout when I had ankle surgery, and they opened up my ankle and found all these gout crystals, and they were like, oh, yeah, you have gout. I'm like, oh, thanks. Had a feeling. So when that happened, I looked it up in the Louise Hay book, and it said impatience and need to dominate causes gout. And I was like, oh, interesting. I'm like, what am I being so impatient? I'm like, impatient? I'm like, need to dominate me? No. I'm like, I'm so peaceful and I try to do all this. Like, this doesn't make sense. And then I'm like, no, I believe in this. There's got to be a reason that this is happening. And I thought about it. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I am incredibly impatient with myself. At this time, at least I was. Now I'm far more patient with myself. I'm very impatient with myself. I talk shit to myself all day long and tell myself how like fat and ugly stupid I am, what a bitch I was. Kind of like worthless piece of shit was the one that used to go over in my mind, and I know it went over in a lot of my clients' minds for a very long time. And so I'd be really impatient with myself. And not only that, I'd be really impatient with spirit because I'd be getting these little trickles of things, knowing that I was able to connect with spirit, and then I'd be upset because I wouldn't be able to do it on demand, or if I was feeling good, or as Crystal and I will talk about shortly, if I was in a good vibrational space. And so I was like, oh, as soon as I started to relax and get more into the flow of life and be open to receiving, as opposed to push and try to do everything to control myself and make sure I was taken care of in the best way possible, like I was getting to be too much with that and too hard on myself. And as soon as I relaxed a little bit and let spirit in and was open more to receiving as opposed to kind of dominating and pushing, my gout attacks started to go away. And it's been very rare. I've had just a couple since then, only because I had an injury and wrestled up some old gout crystals. But for the most part, I've pushed all of that out. So fascinating how that can work.
See, that is pretty amazing. I feel like I need that book because there are so many things. It's so neat. And this is what I love about this. I love about these talks is because I get so many clients, which I'm sure you get so many clients too, that just don't understand the emotional aspect of physical things. And when the doctors diagnosed me with 5 autoimmune diseases, and please pay close attention to how you say that, because I am not diagnosed with. I do not own those diagnoses. They're not in my place. But when they diagnosed me with those things, I was like, okay, Crystal, now take a step back, because emotionally speaking, what causes this? There is an emotional reason. And so really, as an empath, I tend to be the sponge and suck things in. And so where do you suck it in? Your solar plexus. And your solar plexus is in your gut. And it's also your heart chakra. It's all of that whole abdomen area. And where do your autoimmune disease trigger? Your gut. So, I mean, if you look at things emotionally and physically and try to find an emotional barrier that you quite haven't let go of or you haven't healed from, I'm going to tell you 9 times out of 10, you can very much so work with the actual physical things that you've been diagnosed with. And so it's so interesting that you talk about that. I know for me in past relationships, and I'm going to tell you, I don't feel personally like relationship is bound to a spouse or a significant other. Every relationship we have with people, children, parents, aunts, uncles, spouses, they're all relationships, friends. And so control was one of the biggest things that I tried because I felt like I had no control over my life. And this started at a very early age because I actually was an anorexic and had eating disorder when I was in high school. So when you have an eating disorder, it's because it's the only thing in your life that you can control. And so that kind of followed into how I was with my spouses and other people in my life. I tried to control everything they did and they said. And that was one of the things that I really had the hardest time kind of letting go of in relationships, was the control aspect that I wanted to, because I have, such an anxious way of beating myself up and not being patient for things to work out the way that they were. And so in 2012, when I first started on my spiritual journey, these are the things that Spirit started giving to me, was growth with self, not others. So it's kind of neat that you just talked about that, because yes, Spirit, when you start to get on a spiritual journey with yourself, Spirit focuses on you, nobody else, because the change has to happen within you. Nobody else around you is the problem. And that's the hardest thing for people to understand. Like, because they're doing something that's making me mad. Okay, but why is it making me mad? What caused that feeling to begin with? Nobody can do anything to piss me off. I have to choose to be pissed.
Absolutely. I love that. I completely agree. It's about controlling your actions and your reactions. And there's certain things, our emotions are there for a reason. Yes, if you're seeing a puppy being kicked across a parking lot and it makes your stomach turn and you start to cry because it's inhumane, that's a trigger that can be seen as more positive. Like, yes, that's happening because it's not in balance with the world. It's not in harmony, and you're meant to make a difference with that, But if it's like, your mom's pissing you off for the umpteenth time because she's doing the same thing over and over again, or asking you the same question in that same way that just triggers you, that's where you have an opportunity to gain control over how you react to it. And I'm right there with you, Crystal. I did the same thing, as being a sensitive empath and whatnot. The only thing that I could control, too, at the time was my eating, and I had eating disorders severely too for a long time, and had to get help for that and everything, because it was the only thing that I could control at the time, or I couldn't, or I'd like lose control and binge eat and then not eat for a week and all kinds of stuff. And so because of the family I chose to incarnate into at the time, the control wasn't an option. And I noticed when I was probably like 17 or 18, I was getting a little manipulative, and I'm like, man, I remember thinking, like, driving home from work one night, I was like, I'm really like, and it was only with like my mom and like family and stuff. I was like, I'm totally like lying and being sneaky and manipulative. And I'm like, why am I doing that? And I just remember being like, I just want to stop. I like don't want to do that anymore. And I did. And it was just stupid things. Like I was like, staying out too late and like, saying, oh, I have to babysit and the parents aren't coming home, so I'm going to sleep over and I'll be back in the morning. And really after some babysitting, I'd go to a party or something, just like normal things for teenagers. But to me, it didn't feel good and it didn't feel right and I didn't like it. But then I realized later on, taking a look at my family and growing up, I'm like, oh, well, my grandmother, who I spent a lot of time with, she was really manipulative, and she would, lie about things or be sneaky about things and always tell me I was too much or bad or bothering her. And I'd start to realize where I absorbed some of this conditioning. And then when you start to realize that, like, yeah, you get a little angry at first, but then all of a sudden it gives you all of this relief and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally see why this happened and I totally can have control over this and fix this. And that feels like the most powerful thing in the world. It feels like freedom.
Yeah. And it's so funny because, like, as you're talking, my guides are like, hey. So it's like adding to your story as you're talking. It's just so cute how they do it sometimes. And so the listeners that are listening to this, one of the things that, like, I love the healing aspect of understanding where everything comes from, because without understanding where it stemmed from, we can't move past it. And that's just the long and short of it. We have to kind of go back into ourselves and kind of see where that trigger took place, whether it be family structure, relationship structure. It doesn't really matter. We have to go back and we have to look at it. And what I've seen with myself and also with other people is that once they go back and they look at it, they can't get out of that. And so it's almost like a regurgitation of information, or a revolving door of feelings. And so I'm like this because this happened to me and I can't move forward because I'm sick. Okay. And I know I'm going to have a lot of people hate me, but I am going to tell you guys, I work hand in hand with therapists. Therapists actually contact me to go to their offices and channel for their people. And I don't claim to be a therapist. I don't claim to be a mental health person. I don't claim to know what I'm talking about. Spirit gives me everything I need. But I can tell you that if a therapist thought that I was destructive for their patients, they would never ask me to channel for their patients. So I can say that I've worked hand in hand with therapists over the past 7 years, and I'm pretty good at this information by now. And so when Spirit gives this, when they give that revolving door, it is so important for us to understand where it stems from, who or what may have caused it, but then also thank that person for bringing it to our lives. Because here's the important thing that we need to understand, and Spirit gave me this, okay? If somebody comes into your life and does something so bad, we're talking abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, somebody who causes you to be stuck in any sense of the way or causes pain in any sense of the way, the reason you would thank them is because they chose to give up their soul's purpose in this lifetime to help you move forward. They literally said, I will not grow. I will take on the karma. I will take on this problem because this is what you need in your life to help move forward from this issue. And so I will be that person that stands up and does that. And so if we look at it that way, one, we can still be mad, we can still be hurt, we can still not understand it because truthfully, we don't understand what happens on the other side until we're over there, and then we forget about it once we come here. So how does that help us? Well, it helps us in knowing and understanding that there's a much bigger picture taking place beyond this. And so if somebody did something to you that was traumatic and held you back emotionally, physically, mentally, take a moment, take time to go back into that space and figure out how you can release that and grow from it, and also understand that it wasn't you. It just wasn't you. There's no reason for you to be carrying that baggage at this point in time in your life, so why try? Why do that to yourself? Instead, thank them for gifting you the ability to see yourself as a powerful, strong human being that could be reborn in this moment and choose to go forward even though something so ugly and traumatic happened to you. And that right there is power. That's where we start to grow. That's where we start to understand. And so that right there is taking it back.
Absolutely. Completely agree.
So,
and kind of like I said, triggers are just opportunities to heal. It's just something that comes up that says, hey, this part of you isn't quite healed yet, and you need this along your soul path to keep moving. And it might be your whole mission might be to learn how to forgive in this lifetime, or it might be oh, I got forgiveness down when I was much younger, and now I'm in to work on this, and that. We're all very different. We all have lots of different soul lessons and journeys and things that we're meant to experience. But even our darkest days and most dark experiences have a silver lining of light and have an opportunity of growth and change and empowerment if you choose to allow it to.
Yes. And so when talking about relationships, I'm actually going to talk about loving, caring, spousal relationships here, because Spirit always gives me, I love how Spirit draws pictures. They literally draw pictures for me. One, when I first started out my journey, I was like, hey guys, give it to me like I'm a 2-year-old, because seriously, I don't understand. I knew nothing about Spirit when I first started this out, so I had them give it to me in the easiest way possible. And so that's followed through with how I channel, because Spirit always gives it to me in a way that I can very clearly give it to others. And so when they give a relationship, what they do is they always draw a triangle, and on the top of the triangle, that triangle is life, okay? And so on the top of that triangle, they draw 2 stick figures, because once you choose a partner in life, you now are making a life with that partner, okay? And so that partner, essentially, you and them, it doesn't matter what the dynamic of your relationship is, you guys are supposed to be the queen and king of your castle, okay? Or the queen and queen of your castle. Like I said, doesn't matter. Spirit doesn't care. But you're supposed to stand on top of that pyramid with your spouse as a teammate and a team member, and everything else in your guys' life falls somewhere underneath that, including kids. And people are like, what? Because, like, everybody's kind of, and I'm going to tell you, I swear to God, I'm going to get so many people who are like, Crystal, you're evil. But whatever. I'm just going to give you what Spirit gives to me. Children come after your spouse. Literally, most of the time. I mean, like, if we look at old school stuff, you know, that's generally how it comes in. But at the same time, when you choose your partner, unless there's abuse happening to your children, if there's not abuse, then, you know, this is what it is. If there is abuse, then obviously put your children first and get out as quick as you can. But if you have a stable, loving, caring partner that you want to stay with in life, you have to place your partner on top of that pyramid with you, and they also have to place you next to them. And so it is communication, it is honesty, it is trust, and that's what builds the foundation of love. And that's how Spirit gives it through me. And so when anything gets off balance in that, and people from the family or jobs or whatever start to kind of build up on top of that pyramid, it takes the balance off and it puts things off balance for the rest of your life. And then you and your partner fall by the wayside, and that's where we see, you know, divorces or like structural issues within a relationship, because we're not keeping the balance. And so that's kind of how Spirit gives it to me when it comes to a romantic relationship. And there's so many different variables. So it depends on what you're personally struggling with within your relationship, obviously, because there's all sorts of different things. I could be here all night talking about those. But with that being said, it's kind of like the foundation has to be there. And if the foundation there isn't there, then, you know, you guys are going to get off balance. So understanding that that's kind of where it needs to be, and also understanding that your spouse isn't always at fault for everything, is kind of where we all need to learn to grow. Because it's so easy to be like, well, you didn't take care of the towels the way that I said I wanted you to take care of the towels, and how dare you fold them that way? Well, that's control, and that's a trigger. And instead, just take a breath and be like, I thank you for taking the time out of your day to fold the towels because you saw they needed to be done, however they were done. Like,
that's powerful.
It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's just be grateful for what you have in that spouse because they're trying.
And that's, you know, and as long as everybody is trying and trying to do their best, it's just like Crystal said, if it's something little, like, why does it bother me or trigger me if the towels aren't folded exactly the way I wanted them to be, you know, little things like that, you know. And it's also important too, sometimes triggers come up, not only if it's within us and it's like, all right, you like, you know, you could chill out with the towels or whatever it is, but sometimes it's like to protect our space. So if you're dating someone who maybe hasn't found their balance, or they're dealing with addictions, and it's getting to the point where like you're having to sacrifice some of your own boundaries because you have to do things that you don't want to be doing for them, or don't feel like you should have to be doing for them, or, you know, your life's around maybe like revolving around their addiction or something like that, then it's also important to say, okay, you know, I'm feeling really drained, like my solar plexus is going off, my throat chakra is going off like crazy because I'm not speaking my truth, or I'm not saying no, or I'm not saying that this bothers me. There's just so many different types of triggers, and they're all meant to help us create an even compass of where we're at right now and how to get a little more balanced again. There's no such thing as perfect balance. We're never going to feel completely amazingly perfect and in balance, but there is such a thing as close to it. And that's what I think all of us are trying to get to as much as possible on this journey.
Yes, I'm trying to figure out where the crazy reverb is coming from. I don't want our listeners to, I thought it was my speaker. And so I was like trying to take it out. I was like, oh, geez Louise, it's not. So we do have a caller, which is awesome. So we're going to take the caller.
Let's do that.
Hello.
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 Oh, hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hi. I'm doing well. And yourself?
And so what is your name, hon?
Oh, my name is Lisa, and I'm calling from New York.
Hi, Lisa. It's so fun to have somebody
Hi.
from New York. So do you have a question?
Yes, I do. So my question is in regards to my future love life. I am intuitive. I'm picking up the energy of two different guys, both successful. I'm not sure what you pick up. I'm very finicky when it comes to people. It's a little tricky. Yeah, I haven't dated in a long time.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to because I hear her shuffling her cards in the background, I'm going to let Mandy answer that question, but I'm also going to tell you, your guides are making me feel as though you're picky with purpose, okay? So there's picky, like just being nitpicking and like kind of trying to micromanage what comes into our lives, which I'm also going to tell you guys, micromanage the hell out of yourself because that's manifesting, okay? But at the same time, they're making me feel like your past and some of the relationships you've had have made you build boundaries that you had to build a foundation with. And so they're giving you tons of love because you finally figured out the boundaries you needed for your life to be that happy person. And so both of these people could equally be awesome for you, but at the same time, it's so funny because I feel like they're polar opposite from each other, okay? And so it's kind of like, which one's going to work out for me? And so, like I said, I hear her back there flipping cards. So I'm going to let Mandy take this because she's the person that can see this more than me. But when it comes to your boundaries, do not drop those boundaries. You're picky with purpose, and that's awesome. And you've got a lot of changes for the positive coming to you in life. Please know that. Your guides are giving you a round of applause because you've made a lot of changes over the past 6 months of your life, and your guides are so proud of you, okay? So proud
Thank you. Yay.
No.
Okay, I'm not going back to the past. And Mandy, hi, Mandy. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, sister, you are not going back to the past. And
no way.
it's a lot
Never.
of what. No, you've really encompassed a lot of peace lately. You're the peaceful warrior in your life. Like, things that were bothering you once before are not. Your spiritual gifts, like, I just see how much they've been enhancing lately. The more in tune you've gotten with yourself, the stronger they've gotten, and it's absolutely beautiful. And now you're kind of being a gift with a new potential relationship. And they want you to know you're very much the empress, and you do get to decide. Within about 10 days or so, you're really going to see the truth of the situation as to which potential partner will be best for you. Like Crystal said, they're both pieces and options. One of them's just a little bit better because they bring a little bit more peace, fun, joy, forgiveness, things like that. And one of them's kind of working through a few shadows still, and may trigger you a little bit in certain ways. And you might be like, I think you're really wonderful, but I just don't think you're the partner for me. And they're encouraging you to have that really healthy conversation because that's something that has been hard for you in the past. Breaking up is not an easy thing to do. And, so they're just encouraging you when it comes time to let the one that you don't choose go, make sure that you have a real heartfelt conversation and simply speak your truth and just say, you know what, I think this has been great and I'm just so sorry, but it just doesn't feel in alignment with me. And, I wish you the very best on your journey. I think you're a wonderful person. I just don't wish to hold romantic space with you. And then it's their choice to react however they so choose. And then you get to not take it personally. But the one suitor is a very good match for you. And they're showing the sun and the Six of Cups and the lovers and lots of happiness.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
That's a good thing.
I love it.
I love her. You are so
I love it. Okay, because I'm picking up on one. It looks like he is maybe coming from he may be going through a divorce. So I don't think he might not be the right person for me. But then there's another one. I can see does something with his hands, with his hair. I like him.
that one looks better.
Yeah.
And the other one with the
like
divorce,
him.
I think that's what it is. It's a divorce or it's a transition, and there's just some more shadows and things, and his heart won't be as open. So you're going to know. You're highly intuitive, and it's just getting stronger. And there's just showing by the end of the month that you're really going to kind of know, have a little bit more clarity on it.
Okay. Sounds awesome. I love it.
Aw, thanks for calling in.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And also I'll give you girls an update soon, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so we have one more person holding, and I'm actually going to get to them too because I think it's, like I said, I just feel like it's really good to have people call in and talk and ask questions if they have questions regarding this because, boy, it took me long enough. So I'm going to answer this one. We only have about 10 minutes left. It's a shortened show today, okay, guys? Hello?
Hi, how are you guys?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Is this Crystal?
And this is Crystal.
Hi, Crystal. This is
And
Inga calling.
Hi, Inga. Oh, Mandy, you're going to love her. I do. Talk about a badass. This woman is awesome. I love her.
Thank you. You girls are great. I love
show someday. Serious.
Well, I just wanted to throw out there that I've been listening to your show, and it's absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad you guys are doing this. So kudos to you both.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I do. So my question is, I have been asking my spirit and guides to send me somebody that is worthy of me and vice versa. And, of course, I don't know, either I'm an idiot and I'm not picking up any signs or something, but I was reading in a book because I read a lot, and Crystal, you know, I really am into all this stuff. So in this book I read, the lady said that I shouldn't always trust spirit because they may not give me the truth about a relationship. And so my question is that true?
No.
Okay.
Like, ew. I'm sorry, Mandy.
I know.
What do you think? I mean, like, that just rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, no. See,
I'm curious to see what book it is and exactly what they're talking about, because my only devil's advocate on this is, yes, following spirit, the way I lead my life, absolutely. However, I have come across a lot of clients and friends, and even myself at times, where my adrenal fatigue and my stress was so incredibly imbalanced that I was mistaking a lot of my emotions or feelings for things that I thought was spirit coming in and giving me warning signs, when in fact it was my own mind creating a lot of that. That's my only exception, is if you're imbalanced and you're already really stressed out and you have adrenal fatigue and some other things, then it may be a lot harder to hear or understand what spirit is saying. However, if you are a little bit more balanced and feel like you kind of got it like a little bit of a grasp on what spirit's trying to tell you, then absolutely that's what I would follow.
So awesome that you said that, because that's exactly where I was going to go with that next. Sometimes in my relationship, and I'm going to say my triggers, my past, my own insecurities cause me to think stuff, and I'm going to say, poor Ben. I'm just going to say that man has loved me through a lot, and I am grateful for him, because I think things, like I feel things that aren't actually true sometimes, and that tends to be when I'm not at my best. And so he's kind of like, well, I don't know where your gut's leading you on this one, because that's not what's happening. And so it's kind of like I have to sit, reflect, understand, and have to come to a place to understand if it's me or if it's spirit. And you really have to pick up on that, which is also why, and I'm going to pin you here, Inga, you're still not grounding yourself. You're still not saging your space. You're still not holding your space, okay? And so I always tell people, when you channel, talk, or open doors, everything will come through, okay? And so sometimes things come through that we don't really want to come through. And so what are those, the job of those spirits are to lead us in the wrong direction or steer us down the wrong path. And so that's why taking control of what we receive and what we allow is so important. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And we only have like 6 minutes left. So,
well, you're correct. You're right on everything, and you know me well, so you are right. One quick question is how do I know when they're telling me something? Like maybe I'm not picking up like everybody else is.
Okay, so one, I'm going to tell you, I don't think you are picking up on everybody else's right now. I actually think that what they're trying to do is teach you patience and patience in self, okay? Because how they're giving this to me is not necessarily patience in the outward approach of how you see, view, and experience things. You've worked on that. They're making me feel like you're lacking judgment within yourself, which we just talked about that, but that also creates patience within what we're receiving. And so if you're trying to speed up the process by anxiously bringing things in and viewing things, like if you see a billboard and you're like, oh, that has to mean something to me, so I'm going to look that up. If you're doing that, it's almost like you're looking for everything everywhere that you possibly can to give you the answer now. And what we don't
Yep.
always understand is that spirit has no time frame. They give it to us, and so for us, it might seem like a lifetime. It could be 10 years before the answer is finally clear, but to them, it literally is a second. And so having patience in yourself, your own journey, your own growth, your own love, you have still so much happening around you right now. There's still a lot happening in your life, okay? There's still a certain amount of chaos. And so right now, bringing somebody else in to further cloud that chaos isn't the right time for you, okay? And so we know that you want a companion. We know that. They're literally saying, we know that you want a companion. It's not about you needing a man. You've done it without the man. So it's the companionship that you're looking for. And so it is going to come. And I'm just going to tell you, I don't think you're going to like what they're giving to me, but they're almost making me feel like there's going to be a couple that come in and out of the process over the next year, okay? And you're going to see very fast that those are red flags because you still haven't worked completely yet on your boundaries. And so what they're doing is they're giving you a whole lot of stuff at once to help hone in on those feelings and those vibrations that you're getting. And that means talking, working through, and channeling a little bit more. That's all I can tell you about that, is actually going through and following your gut, because you'll start to understand every time that you do that, whether or not it's spirit or yourself, okay?
Okay. Yep.
And it's practice is what it comes from.
All right.
And so I'm going to tell you, I've been doing this now since 2012, and I still sometimes get it wrong. I'm not perfect, and that's why I want my clients to know that, because then they won't get so down on themselves. There's a lot that goes into it that we need to figure out in life. So.
Yeah.
All right.
And
well,
Inga, just quick 30 seconds for you too. Your angels want you to know you're very much being protected right now because of what Crystal is saying. A lot of things. You've come really far, and you're still kind of calling in the things that you want and to be present with in your own relationship, and the things you want your future partner to be present with. Very important to trust your intuition. You're going to have one, if not two, just like Crystal is saying, potential partners or suitors, and it's going to be up to you to say, oh, you're so nice. Thank you so much for being interested in me, but no, you're not a good partner. They're going to kind of put you through a test, and you're going to have to say no probably twice after, going on a few dates, a few weeks, something like that. And then I'm actually they're giving me a brief timeline of potential partner coming in about a year to a year and a half, depending on how much work you get done. So just hang in there, because it's coming and you're clearing the space, sister. Keep doing the beautiful work.
Well, thank you, girls, very much.
No problem. I love you.
All right.
Always.
You guys,
I do.
I love you too. You guys have a great night, and thank you again.
Thank you, hon.
All right. Bye, guys.
Beautiful
Bye.
show, Crystal. Nice work.
It's so funny. There we go. My computer was freezing. I was like, oh no. So wonderful. Thank you guys so very much. Once again, thank you, Mandy. I love having you. You teach me so much, and it's wonderful, because I don't step outside of my bubble very well to be taught, because my guides told me not to read. It creates too much anxiety in me, and I'm receiving information from other people, so they want spirit to teach me. But I'm also going to tell you, the little stuff that you give to me, it's like, yes, that's what I need in my life. So I listen and learn from you as
Oh, it's an honor. Thank you. And I'm always so happy to hold space, and I learn from you every day. And that's what all of us can do. And that's what we do here on Heart Over Ego. We simply tune in and we listen to other people and other versions, and we just plug in the little pieces that work for us in hopes that we can create a better experience here in this lifetime.
Perfect. So where can we find you, Mandy?
You can find me online, facebook.com/The Alchemy Sisters. Or you can find me on my website, alchemyascensionacademy.com.
Awesome sauce. And you can find me pretty much anywhere. I go by the same name everywhere. It is Mid Mitten Medium. So you can go to midmittenmedium.com, or you can find me on Facebook and send me a message there if you so choose. Give my page a like, please. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in, and I look forward to meeting with you all next Tuesday. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.